So I hope everybody's been doing well. This episode of Coffee and Real Estate, we're going to cover when should you sell your property and when should you rent your property. And we're covering this because this past week I had a couple of clients and each of them were in that situation. Should they rent their property or should they sell their property? And the answer was different for each of them, as it will be for you, and you'll find out. But let's get started here. We are rolling into what is new this week with me and real estate. So, cool thing I did, hiked up to LeConte. It's the second tallest peak in Tennessee. You can see a couple of photos right here on the side. Probably about a 15-mile journey. We did it one day. Highly recommend you give it a shot. And you can also even stay at the top in the lodge, but reservations have to be made well in advance. But pretty cool place. When we got to the top, it was cloudy already, so we didn't get a really great shot of that. But on the way up, there were several very pretty overlooks, and we got some good shots there. What's new as far as real estate in me? I have a few new listings, and I have a few new rentals coming up and available. So I have a new rental that we're managing in Calhoun, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, $1,600 a month. And if you're looking for rental houses, you know that 4-bedroom houses do not come up very often. So you want to pay attention to that and contact me if you're looking for a rental house in the Calhoun area with that much space. The second rental property is in Rossville. This is on 7 Beaver Lane. It's a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath house. The tenants are moving out at the end of the month. It'll be available August 1st. Monthly rent is $1,150. Both of these are posted on my fan page, personal page, marketplace, pretty much anywhere you're looking for rental property, you're going to run across those. Contact me if you're interested and we'll get you set up on how we can proceed forward. New listings. I've got a couple of new listings that are coming that are not up yet. I'm hoping by next week's episode I can show those to you, but they're fixer-upper listings. Really good for investors, really good if you want to turn and make a profit. And if you're an owner-occupant looking for a good deal, these could be good for you as well. So that's what's new on me in real estate. Let's talk about some national news. So looking at the news lately and researching for this week's episode, the only really kind of article that jumped out at me is that the listings in New York have jumped back up since they've reopened, which is a good sign. So it's sort of a rubber band effect. We wound up and everything just sort of stopped in some of the bigger cities like New York. But now that's released, the listings are back on the market and things are moving in that city again. Around here, things slowed down very little. We had a small shortage of sales compared to the previous year, but I really think that was due to a lack of listings and probably some sellers not putting their homes on the market. There's still an undersupply of houses in the marketplace right now. So that is this week's real estate, what's new with me, all that fun stuff. Let's get into my featured listing for this week. So this listing is actually another agent in RE/MAX office, Andrea. This listing is 1906 Keystone Way. It is a big, beautiful house, one level, about 2,600 square feet, right off Dugout Road. Really great location. You could be downtown Dalton real quick. You're right next to Walnut Avenue almost. Very nice property. It's listed for $314,900. You can call Andrea. You can call the RE/MAX office. I really encourage you, if you're in this price range, check out this house. It's a beautiful house, and we already had one potential offer on it already, I believe, that came in. But yeah, get out and take a look at this house. It's a nice house. And I also still have this land listing down here on River's Edge in Benton, Tennessee. If you're looking for land property, access to the Ocoee, this is a great property to check out. So let's get into this week's topic for coffee and real estate. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so To rent or to sell, 'tis the question. A lot of people who own property find themselves in this situation. So let's cover some of these situations where you may want to sell, the pros and cons, and some of the situations where you may want to rent, pros and cons. So for selling, I recommend selling in a situation where if you've had the property for at least 5 or 6 years, you don't like having rental property. Rental property is not for everyone. It is deemed to be a passive income activity, but the truth is there's work with rental property. There's upkeep with rental property. There's expensive with rental property. One thing that I would consider with rental property is how much debt do you have on the rental property? Because if your house is vacant, you're still making a mortgage payment. And for some people, that's not a situation they want to be in. So if you want to sell your property and not rent it, that gets you done with the property, finished with the property, and you don't have to worry about it anymore, and you can just move forward. Why would you want to rent your property? Well, this would be a situation where you know your property can cash flow. So if your debt is lower and the rental rates are higher and you have a spread where you can cash flow, you may want to rent your property. If you have enough room to where you can hire a property manager so they can take that hassle off of managing that property yourself, it might be a good idea to rent the property. If you are interested in building a rental portfolio, I really do believe that most people should have 5 paid off, free and clear houses in their retirement portfolio. That is a good income and it's a good diversification with stocks and bonds and all those other investment assets classes. So if you're looking to build a long-term portfolio, renting might be a good idea for you. Where are you at in your stage of life? So one client I met with, she's older. She doesn't want to handle the upkeep of property anymore. And we were discussing, should she sell or should she fix up her property a little bit and then rent it out? And ultimately we decided she should probably just sell the property and then she could take that money and allocate it elsewhere. So where are you at in life? Are you in a position where you want rental property, or do you want to just sell your property, take your profits, and move that money elsewhere that's more beneficial to you? Location matters. If you're going to manage the property yourself, you need to be closer to the property. If you're going to be farther away from a property, you need a property manager such as myself. But when you're really far from your property, it's just a lot of hassle, and it's easier to just sell the property. A lot of instances there as well, particularly if you're trying to manage it yourself. The other thing to keep in mind is if you rent your property, no one is going to take care of your property as nice as you. If you live in the property, you own the property, you're probably going to take care of the property the best yourself. So some clients in the past, or some people I know, when they've had rental property, they were appalled when they took it back, even if it was mostly normal wear or tear, just because it wasn't up to the standards that they would have. So if you get rental property and you have rental property, you want to rent your property, keep in mind that it will deteriorate as anything that's being used over time. So that's sort of the differences, the pros and cons of renting the property, selling the property. It depends on where you're at in life, what you want to do with the property you have, how much debt and cash flow room you have. You don't want to keep a rental property that you're not cash flowing on or that is just sucking money away from you. And what are your future goals? Do you want rental properties? Do you want to build portfolio rental properties? Do you want to just sell your house and move on? The situation will depend on you. So that is my advice. Ultimately, the answer is, what are your goals and what do you want to do? And that's where someone like me can come in and we'll talk and we'll figure out what is the best path for you. Let's just talk and see what ways, which directions we should go in. So that is this week's Coffee and Real Estate. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week. And I hope everybody has a fantastic week ahead.